Marcus McDonough with his familiar final words of instruction. Go to work, sends both men back to their respective corners. And now Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin, two men looking to return to the winning column in the heavyweight division, square off in a contest scheduled for 12 3-minute rounds. We are underway. Heavyweight boxing here on BBC Radio 5 Live between Anthony Joshua, the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world, the 2012 Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, facing off against the 9'8" assassin Jermaine Franklin from Saginaw in Michigan. And what's immediately apparent, and what was apparent during those final instructions from referee Marcus McDonough, is the towering height advantage that Anthony Joshua enjoys. He's wearing white trunks trimmed with red. As for Jermaine Franklin, he's wearing a black gladiator's tunic trimmed with white. Solid left jab landed by Anthony Joshua as his flashing left glove got in between the defenses of Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin comes forward with a 1-2. Lead left hook landed by Anthony Joshua. Jermaine Franklin takes it, fires back with a left hook and left jab of his own. The action is exclusively in centre ring. Nice head movement from the new svelte, slimline Jermaine Franklin by slipping to his left to cause the right hand shot out by Anthony Joshua to sail over his shoulder. And Jermaine Franklin not overawed by the stature or the reputation of the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world. And here's a solid lead left hook landed by Jermaine Franklin. I was going to call him the challenger. So used to we are seeing Anthony Joshua in heavyweight title fights. This the first time since 2015 where a world title bout of some description hasn't been on the line. Solid left jab landed by Anthony Joshua. Jermaine Franklin with his braids tied into a man bun on the rear of his head, on the front foot, looking to back up Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua not reversing in straight lines, but trying to give Jermaine Franklin angles. Jermaine Franklin scores with a left jab to the sternum, right hand to the body, tried to fire a left hook to the head. Joshua comes back, dips at his knees and lands a left hand to the sternum, followed with a left-right. The right hand was short by some distance. There's another double left jab, and the second one had some serious pop on it from Anthony Joshua. There's a stiff left jab once again, landing on the right eye of Jermaine Franklin. Exchange of jabs. Jermaine Franklin, a counterpuncher, showing his prowess in that regard, countering Joshua's jab with a lead left hand of his own. Minute to go in the opening round. Solid left right hand landed by Anthony Joshua. Jermaine Franklin says that he possesses a stout chin, and Anthony Joshua will not dent it. Action is in the center of the boxing ring. Double left jab, right hand to the body landed by Jermaine Franklin. Roundhouse right from Anthony Joshua landed around the rear of the shoulder of Jermaine Franklin, because he gave Anthony Joshua angles while in the pocket. Solid left jab lands by Anthony Joshua once again. Jermaine Franklin takes it, comes forward with a stab left jab to the body twice, and now he gets on the front foot. Jermaine Franklin fires a 4-shot salvo, but neither shot found a range because Anthony Joshua was moving backwards to his right in a counterclockwise fashion towards his own blue corner on the far side of the ring. 10-second clapper imminent here at the O2 Arena. Anthony Joshua, left jab to the head, countered by a left jab to the body from Jermaine Franklin. And Jermaine Franklin showing good composure in this, the biggest fight of his life, on the grandest stage of his life, against the decorated former two-time heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. Steve Bunch, your thoughts on that first round?
Well, I'll tell you what I did like. I liked the little exchange at the end when Joshua told him in no uncertain terms what he wants him to go and do. It was a little bit like the continuation of the Joshua we've seen before, but at least he looked like he was ready over the last two fights. Looked like he was ready to let his hands go. It looked to me like that was a planned first round of touch him, throw a jab, set your feet, throw a jab. I think he's going to let his hands go in this round. I really do, Carl.
Well, he looked poised to let his hands go there the whole round.
Several times, didn't he?
Yeah, he was in the centre of the ring. He was authoritative with his jab. His jab was landing. Jermaine Franklin had his moments. He landed a sneaky right hand as well. Franklin, not much on it. He got a couple of jabs through himself. Don't forget Jermaine Franklin's the counter-puncher. But Anthony Joshua there took the centre of the ring. He was slowly walking him down and landing authoritative jabs. So a good round from AJ, but I want to see more now.
And I think we will. I'm convinced we will.
So into the second round we go. It's a rather tardy exit of the red stool near the red corner just next to our commentary position. We're positioned at figure 5 on the clock face. Action is in the center of the boxing ring. Anthony Joshua, loose at the shoulders, a wide-legged stance, feinting with the front foot. Just on the edge of center ring is Jermaine Franklin, blocks an attempted left jab to his body by knocking it down with his right glove. Came back with a double left jab of his own, but didn't find a range because he didn't really step in. Then he did step in with a left jab, but still Anthony Joshua with good reflexes. Hands up in front of his chin, but there the defenses were split by a left jab by Jermaine Franklin. Counter right hand from Anthony Joshua. Glanced at the chin of Jermaine Franklin, who poked his tongue out contemptuously in the direction of Anthony Joshua. And then he shoved Anthony Joshua off in forceful fashion, just prompting a bit of a talking to from referee Marcus McDonnell, because AJ collided with Marcus McDonnell after that physical altercation instigated by Jermaine Franklin. Action is directly on top of the logo here at the O2 Arena. Jermaine Franklin getting onto the front foot. Anthony Joshua evading the lead left hand that came in his direction by engaging reverse gear. Then he comes forward with a treble jab of his own. Action is just above our commentary position before Jermaine Franklin just steps incrementally towards centre ring. And it's a physical chest match, this one. Plenty of feinting, plenty of poise being exhibited by both boxers. Beautiful left jab landed by Anthony Joshua between the high-held glove of Jermaine Franklin. Then a stiff left-right combination, the best combination of the entire contest, landed by Anthony Joshua. Lead left hook is the flashing shot from Anthony Joshua, catching Jermaine Franklin on his bearded chin. But Jermaine Franklin, showing good competitive spirit, comes back with a left jab and right cross to the torso of Anthony Joshua, who has scaled a career heaviest 255 pounds tonight, 1 pound heavier than he was for his contest against Carlos Takam back at Cardiff Principality Stadium in October of 2017. In stark contrast, Jermaine Franklin is 23 pounds lighter than in his most recent outing against Dillian White. Three-shot combination, left, right, left hook from Jermaine Franklin, and the final left hook did just sneak around the rear of the right glove of Anthony Joshua. The action is on top of the logo at centre ring. Feinting with a left jab, trying to draw a lead is Anthony Joshua, and he did draw a response because instinctively Jermaine Franklin went to bat it down, sensing that the jab was going to his torso, but the shot never came. There's a trace of blood around the right nostril, and a left-right combination from Jermaine Franklin is his best combination of the fight. But the left nostril of Anthony Joshua leaking blood deep into this second round. 20 seconds to go, and Jermaine Franklin competing on just about even terms. I think he's being edged in this second round, but make no mistake, he is in the contest every second of the way, because he is not overawed. He's not intimidated by the big left hook, which was off the mark. Comes back with a stabbing left jab to the body. Joshua countered with the same shot, and Joshua pawing at that damaged left nose the deeper we got into that second round. Steve Bunch, your thoughts?
I thought AJ let that right hand go. The counter was the best punch he's thrown for a very long time. I'm talking about several years. I mean, that was the one time I've seen him throw the kind of punches he used to throw. The difference was when he threw them before, he really committed, and then he pulled back a left hook, and he invariably sent the people back. What he did there is he took the poise and he allowed Franklin to come at him. And the left hook, the damage to his nose came from a left hook about 10 seconds before the end of the first round. He's letting his hands go, Carl, but he's got to force himself. He's got to stamp his authority.
Yeah, Anthony Joshua's throwing what we call arm shots in the business, which means he's not putting his body weight behind it. He's not really throwing the shots of any real conviction. His legs aren't sending in the shot. He's not twisting at the hips. So that means he's not really that confident when he's letting them go. He's just pouring with shots, and he was on the end of a couple of shots there. There's blood pouring from his nose. Jermaine Franklin is getting a little bit more confident, but I'm still got AJ in front with them 2 rounds.
So 2 rounds completed, and what is interesting is that both boxers remained on their stools after the call of round 3 from the timekeeper. Referee Marcus McDonnell calls time in, and the action is in the middle of the boxing ring. It's Anthony Joshua who is occupying the prime position of the roped arena, but now being backed up by an attempted double left jab, treble left jab from Jermaine Franklin, as the two men continue to bob and weave and feint and shape in front of each other. Left jab to the sternum landed by Anthony Joshua, who is pawing at his nose with his right glove. And we mentioned the fact that this is his career heaviest, besting the weight, or higher than the weight, as Jermaine Franklin charges forward, lands with the right hand, catching Joshua as he was evading to his right. And in the fight against Carlos Takam, Anthony Joshua suffered no damage as he lands with a left jab, fires a right hook, but a left hook came in response from Jermaine Franklin, who is growing in confidence the more we go into this fight. And surely it is down to Anthony Joshua, the former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, to drain that confidence from Jermaine Franklin. He feels that he's being overlooked. He's also questioned the wisdom of Anthony Joshua changing trainer to Derek James. Left hand to the body, right hand that followed from Jermaine Franklin was off the mark, but it did graze the ribcage of the lean, muscular Anthony Joshua. Right hand lead from the former champion is a scoring shot, but Jermaine Franklin feinting in the pocket, shaping and feinting with his hands, blocking the left jab with his right glove, and then there's an exchange where the final word was a right cross through in between Anthony Joshua's gloves, scored by Jermaine Franklin. And Anthony Joshua just beginning to have a tentative look about his work now. Lead right hand with an effective shot, but countered immediately by a 1-2 from Jermaine Franklin, whose loose limb fluidity is keeping him in this contest. Right hand lead from Anthony Joshua lands once again. He's landing the heavier artillery, the more authoritative shots, but Jermaine Franklin unperturbed as he continues to stand in the pocket within punching range of the taller champion, who has an advantage in height and reach and most certainly bulk. But Jermaine Franklin keeping his composure and trying to get into his own punching range, edging forward incrementally. Left jab lands from Anthony Joshua, but then a treble jab, right hand to the body from Jermaine Franklin before the boxers fall into what is the first clinch of the contest. Referee Marcus McDonald allowed them to work away, and like a gentleman's agreement, they step back of their own accord. Anthony Joshua peering over the top of his gloves, shaping up nicely, but not really committing to any sustained assaults. 20 seconds to go in the third round. Quadruple jab from Jermaine Franklin. The final left stick got through and scored on the head of Anthony Joshua. Left-right combination from Jermaine Franklin, then a scoring left jab jolts the head back of Anthony Joshua. Joshua goes in search of his payback, lands a left jab of his own. Good left hook slammed into the ribcage from Jermaine Franklin. And Jermaine Franklin having his best round of the entire contest, and he knows it, and that is why he's raised both gloves to the O2 Arena roof at the sound of the bell.
Not only does he know it, Ronald, he was enjoying himself in that round. He started to let his shots go, he started to relax. And I'm just looking there at Derek James in the corner, Carl. He's quite energetic. He's thrown an awful lot of shots. The first time they've walked together. This is what Franklin was saying. It's their first time in the corner. They don't know what they're doing.
Listen, Anthony Joshua's doing everything he needs to do to get himself in position, but he's not doing the final job and letting the punches go with any authority. He's doing the jab nicely, but he's on the end of a counter punch. Jermaine Franklin there, not only did he win that round, he built a lot of confidence.
Yes.
Because he landed some nice flush shots. And yes, he got caught at the end of the round with a right hand and a hook, but he didn't look bothered by it because Anthony Joshua's not throwing any punches with any kind of conviction.
He's not letting them go, is he?
He's not, no.
He's not letting them go. Not letting them go like you would let them go.
Round 4.
Well, once again, both boxers take every second of the 60 and then some to rise up off their respective stalls. And again, despite the magnificent condition that Anthony Joshua has whipped himself into, we have to pose the question, how effectively will he be able to carry this new career heaviest poundage of 255 pounds around the boxing ring in the event that this goes 12 rounds. There, Anthony Joshua fires a right hand, but it was off the mark. And coming forward behind a double jab which scores is Jermaine Franklin. And he's really stepping into it and putting some snap onto that lead left hand. And Anthony Joshua beaten to the jab once again. Terrific speed in the pocket being exhibited by Jermaine Franklin. Anthony Joshua scores, fires out a jab, but he didn't score. It was caught by the gloves, and he dropped down to the body and scored with a left jab to the torso. But Jermaine Franklin, oozing confidence here in the fourth round, causes Joshua to fall short with a right cross, scores with a left jab to the body. In response, does the counter-punching maestro Jermaine Franklin. Good double jab, right hook around the corner to the body from Jermaine Franklin. Anthony Joshua coming forward, but his left hook going over the top of Jermaine Franklin's braided hair because Jermaine Franklin dipped at the knees and lowered his head as well. Approaching the halfway stage of this fourth round, solid left jab with a single scoring shot from Anthony Joshua. The subsequent left jab wasn't really committed to, and Jermaine Franklin blocked it with his right glove, but then a jab followed up and did jolt him right on the nose. Lead left hook is blocked brilliantly by Jermaine Franklin, who, as though he was answering a mobile telephone, put his right glove to his temple, blocked the shot coming in. Anthony Joshua countered with a jab, and then Jermaine Franklin on that front foot scoring with a double left jab once again. The action is in the middle of the boxing ring, where it has been almost exclusively neither man looking to clinch, neither man looking to hold or hide. Minute and 14 to go in this fourth round. Jermaine Franklin gets up close, looking to target the body. Now is the clinch. Referee Marcus McDonald allowing the boxers to work away before issuing the command of break, and they step back to just on the edge of range. Both boxers on top of the logo at center ring. Beautiful counter right hand from Jermaine Franklin was blocked by the left glove of Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua still boxing as though he's got the handbrake applied. He's not really letting his hands go. He's shaping up beautifully, but there's precious little urgency about his work. The blood leaking from the nose once again. He's physical on the inside. Jermaine Franklin, you would suggest, more ideally suited to that type of inside work, but neither man was able to demonstrate the art of infighting during that coming together. Final 30 seconds of this fourth round. Left jabs were fired with Joshua leading. The counter left jab from Jermaine Franklin was the more effective shot. And this one is turning into a two-way tussle now. After Anthony Joshua controlled the first two rounds and got the better of them, I gave Jermaine Franklin the third, and this one being boxed on even terms. Right hand lead attempted by Anthony Joshua was evaded by the bending of the waist from Jermaine Franklin. Beautiful up jab of the corkscrew variety from Anthony Joshua, but that spurs Jermaine Franklin into life, and he looked to unload on Anthony Joshua, pinning into the ropes on the far side of the ring. Let's go to the Olympic bronze medalist from Tokyo 2020, Fraser Clark, who's part of our team here ringside, and get his thoughts. Fraser, how do you see it so far?
Yeah, so far, a good start from AJ. I still think he can be more dominant. I think he can impose his size, impose his speed and all his attributes a lot. But I have to give great credit to Jermaine Franklin. He's well in this fight. He's using a really skilled approach, trying to get close to Joshua and counter him with some really good shots.
Well, yeah, Fraser Clark there picking up on Anthony Joshua needed to impose himself more, and I totally agree. AJ, he looks like he's in second gear. He's taking his time. He's throwing a nice jab. He's on the end of a couple of counter punches, getting hit with the odd jab. For me, he's in control, but he needs to do more. He needs to work. He needs to convince everybody that he's here to win this fight, because I'm not seeing it at the minute.
And we want to see it. We know what he can do. Let's hope he knows what he's got to do.
So we go into the fifth round. Anthony Joshua in the middle of the boxing ring, awaiting Jermaine Franklin, who was lurking near his corner as the bell sounded. These two men taking entirely different routes into the sport of boxing. No gilded amateur glory for Jermaine Franklin. Beautiful right-hand lead landed by Anthony Joshua. It was only a single, but then he follows up with a lead left hook. But Jermaine Franklin showing a solid chin, because he's not blinking when taking these shots. And there's a left hook to the body. Right uppercut ripped right through the middle from Jermaine Franklin. Jolting the head back of Anthony Joshua. And Jermaine Franklin showing fantastic competitive spirit. And he's having a sense of permanence about him now, because Anthony Joshua's landed with two solid singles, but there's precious little combination punching coming from the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world. 50 seconds gone in this fifth round, and there's just a little bit of a swelling developing beneath the right eye as a beautiful right-hand lead from Anthony Joshua landed with a bent arm at mid-range, caught the advancing Jermaine Franklin as he was looking to launch a forward foray. It doubled up the impact of the punch, and Jermaine Franklin just was keen to hold on a little bit. Has his head cleared from that solid shot, if indeed he was shaken up. Treble left jab from Anthony Joshua, blinding Jermaine Franklin during that exchange. Jermaine Franklin firing a 1-2, then follows up with a stab jab to the body, which was a scoring shot despite the attempted defenses of Anthony Joshua. Halfway through this fifth round, Anthony Joshua landing some heavy singles, but precious little combination punching. His former trainer, Robert McCracken, Annie D. Shaw Murphy's, he lands a beautiful right-hand lead once again. He's finding the range with that shot now, because that is the second time he has landed it in this round to heavy effect on the left cheek of Jermaine Franklin. There's a swelling developing beneath the right eye of Jermaine Franklin from Joshua's sharp jabs. There Joshua attempted jab to the body, but it was battered down by the right glove of Jermaine Franklin, who has a wide-legged stance, and now is increasing the disparity in height between the two of them by spreading his legs wide, dipping at the knees, so Anthony Joshua would have to shoot his shots down on an even steeper trajectory. There's an entwinement of arms and torsos in the middle of the boxing ring. Left uppercut ripped through the middle by Anthony Joshua, and Jermaine Franklin was just keen to hold on. He's beginning to feel the pace after being touched up by some heavy singles in this stanza. Comes back with a left jab to the sternum of Anthony Joshua, and again he's shaping up on the edge of range, but there's the same shot once more. Right cross landed from Anthony Joshua. During the trade-off that ensued, a left jab got through from Jermaine Franklin, and Anthony Joshua, you get the impression, is slowly dialing up the intensity here, because he had repeated success, even though he's separated by spurts of time, but he's had repeated success with his right cross in particular, getting it over the low-held left hand of Jermaine Franklin. Feinting with the front foot now is Anthony Joshua after the 10-second clapper has sounded, and Joshua just backing up, trying to draw in Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin looking to offer him a low five. Anthony Joshua not interested and just strolled back to his own blue corner. Joshua more effective in that round, Steve.
Not just more effective, it seemed to me that Suddenly, thankfully, Jermaine Franklin was slightly wary. I think he got caught with a couple of shots. He's got that mark under his right eye. Plus, Joshua let a couple of punches go there. They didn't necessarily work, but he threw a right hand and he ducked off to the side to bring back a left hook. It didn't land, but that was him staying close, staying in punching range and letting his hands go. It's still an odd performance, Carl. It's still a lot. I mean, he's either lost 1 or 2 rounds, and he's kind of in control. But we just want, like Frey said, we want to see more.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Anthony Joshua's really got going, and I think it's because he's been allowed to just do what he wants and get away with pouring with a jab, taking the centre of the ring, kind of just backing up Jermaine Franklin. He's comfortable in there, and he's happy that he's comfortable, so he's not really trying to prove a point or make a big statement. And Jermaine Franklin is slowed down a little bit, so the writing looks like it's on the wall, but I still want to see more from Anthony Joshua.
So into the 6th round we go. Jermaine Franklin was the first man to rise again. Anthony Joshua taking every second of the 60-second interval before getting up off his stool psychologically, even though Jermaine Franklin gave the impression that by being touched up by the right-hand lead, he was just slowing down a little bit, by showing Anthony Joshua that he's ready for battle in this 6th round, while just sending a psychological message. The boxers on top of the logo at centre ring. They spin one another around in an untidy tango as the forearms tangle and they lean onto one another. Jermaine Franklin desperately trying to get his hands free, so too Anthony Joshua. And there's a right up hook, left hook slammed into the body, both of them demonstrably below the belt line, but Jermaine Franklin not complaining and keeping his composure. He's peering between high-held gloves now, his left hand in front of his chin. Exchange of jabs, but Anthony Joshua's landed with a bent elbow and was altogether more solid. And now Anthony Joshua just looking to control the distance with that lead left hand. Again, showing terrific poise, blocked the jab with the right glove, came back with a left jab of his own. As Jermaine Franklin looking to work his way in. There's a sneaky overhand right after he went downstairs with a left jab to the body. Anthony Joshua was throwing a right hand at the same time, but during the coming together, the eye-catching single coming from the 989 Assassin. That nickname coming from the area code of his area of Michigan, Saginaw, in America's Midwest. Again, blinding left jab as Jermaine Franklin got through with a good left hand as Anthony Joshua was looking for the corkscrew. And now Jermaine Franklin, encouraged by the single shot success that he had, letting a 3-shot salvo go, but neither shot got through with any effect. But it was interesting during that interlude with both boxers planted their feet into the canvas to get some leverage onto their shots. It was a lead left hand of Jermaine Franklin which landed to good effect. Good left jab to the body from Jermaine Franklin. Anthony Joshua looking for the right hand lead. He's made to miss by Jermaine Franklin turning at the waist. And then Jermaine Franklin showing good head movements. Chopping right hand landed by Anthony Joshua. Right uppercut as well. Jermaine Franklin firing during that intercourse with a right cross of his own as Joshua bleeding from the nose once again. Terrific right cross landed by Jermaine Franklin, whose stock is continuing to rise here in Great Britain. His 2nd consecutive fight on these shores, the biggest fight of his career. He's dealing with the occasion, he's dealing with the reputation and accomplishments of the man in front of him, and acquitting himself very well indeed. And if Anthony Joshua was looking to make a statement to the world and to the rest of the heavyweight division, well, the statement that he's making is that he's a competent heavyweight boxer, one of the best in the world, but the destructive force we were expecting to see, not really in evidence as we approach the halfway stage of this contest. There's the 10-second clapper, bringing us to the end of round 6. Solid lead left hook, landed by Anthony Joshua. Jermaine Franklin looking for a response to the body, and he comes back, letting a 4-shot fusillade of punches go. And then the 2 men exchange a sporting touch of gloves at the conclusion of the round. Let's see if we can go over and listen to Derek James in the blue corner on the far side of the ring as he instructs Anthony Joshua.
On the inside, started get in. Hands in there.
It's really interesting. I've got to be honest, okay, let's tell the truth here. Derek James is showing Anthony Joshua shots to throw that Anthony Joshua's never thrown on his life. I'm sorry, you're leaning to the left, you're throwing a left uppercut, you're leaning back, you're throwing a right uppercut to get underneath a guy's guard. No disrespect, Carl, he's never thrown those punches in his life.
I know what you're saying, it is odd. I mean, maybe you can't draw too much from that, but he is shadowboxing in front of Anthony Joshua. Bizarre scenes there. I mean, I'm not so sure what that's going to prove. Anthony Joshua was a bit busy in that round, but he still doesn't look like he's stepping on the gas, and he's taking too many counter punches. Jermaine Franklin still very much in this fight.
6 rounds completed, a scheduled 6 rounds to go. Anthony Joshua in his 15th scheduled 12 rounder tonight. Jermaine Franklin There's only been the 12-round distance on one occasion, and that was the only time it was scheduled. That was in his previous contest against Dillian Whyte, where he fought in spurts, perhaps afraid of the championship distance, but he's got that experience under his belt here now, and he's been a dynamic figure at his new lighter weight, some 24 pounds lighter than he was in his previous outing against Dillian Whyte in November at Wembley Arena. And we wondered whether it would affect his punch resistance, but he's showing a style set of whiskers as Anthony Joshua applies a headlock. And Jermaine Franklin claimed him around his waist. And the action is in the middle of the boxing ring. Both men, as Joshua shifting both left and right. Now he's moving clockwise to his left, could be walking onto the right hand of Jermaine Franklin, but he fired a nice two-shot combination before tying his man up, preventing Jermaine Franklin from scoring with the counter that has been effective for him, or the counters that have been effective for him during the course of this bout. Anthony Joshua just decreasing his height by dipping at the knees. His hands still tightly in front of his chin. He's got a look of concentration on his face as he pistons out a left jab and lands with it. And then a left jab was followed by a booming, pulverizing right cross, which again caught Jermaine Franklin as he was coming in, doubling up the impact as the two men locking horns on the inside once again. Anthony Joshua nudging away with his free right hand to the abdomen of Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin was chopping away to the rear of Anthony Joshua's shoulder. Minute 20 remaining in this 7th round. Is Anthony Joshua breathing through an open mouth now, and that maybe not just a sign of a fatigue, which it often is, but remember the nose of Anthony Joshua damaged, and that could well make breathing more difficult through his nostrils. Referee Marcus McDonald had to separate the two as the two men fell into the ropes near the blue corner on the far side of the ring, and it's Anthony Joshua just looking to control the range and the distance now with that lead left hand. He's got a wide-legged stance. Jermaine Franklin fires a 1-2 combination which was short, but the left jab which followed did get through. Nice left hand slung into the body by Anthony Joshua. Palm turned up to the ring lights, and it did land on the torso of the man from Saginaw. Lead left hook, right cross was fired by Jermaine Franklin. The left hook was caught by the forearms of Anthony Joshua. Oh, that's a beautifully picked right hand again, but once more, Jermaine Franklin showing contempt for the punch that he'd just been tagged with. He nodded to Joshua to say, okay, good shot, you caught me on that occasion, but he also stuck his tongue out as if to say, if you're hoping to check my chin, you're going to have to come with better than that. Approaching the 10-second clapper of this 7th round. Slapping right hook landed by Anthony Joshua, and a solid left hook during the trade-off at close range just caused Jermaine Franklin to lose his balance, and then a solid right hand landed by Anthony Joshua makes it a strong conclusion to the round as the two men engage in a baleful scare at the end of the round. They exchanged a few words before they both make their way back to their respective corners. Steve Bunt.
We saw a little bit of the old Joshua there. He got caught with a shot, he came back with a right hand, he came back with another left hook, he looked to throw another right hand, there's blood showing in his mouth, his nose is bleeding, then at the end they exchange a little bit. That's not bad. I'm quite happy with that, Carl. I'm quite happy with that.
Listen, he only steps it up really when he has to. He only works when he's under a bit of pressure. He's landed a couple of nice, clean, single right hands on the target, but he's not followed it up. I've got Tony Bailey behind me shouting, and again, Anthony, and again, and he's not going again, AJ. I think he's happy to, when he gets his nose in front in the round, he's happy to just see the round out, and he knows he's won the round on points. We're not seeing anything really aggressive from him.
And we need to see a little bit more.
Well, if he's going to step up and take the best in the world,
then take it.
We need to see it now.
So into the 8th round then. So another first half of a contest sees Anthony Joshua go through it. He's not scored a knockout in the first half of a fight since he stopped Eric Molina. Anthony Joshua, he's boxing in controlled fashion here, and despite going to a new trainer who's known for the aggressive style of his boxers, you think of Jamal Charlo and Errol Spence, the welterweight kingpin, those guys bring controlled violence to the boxing ring. Beautiful lead left hand on the rear, on the back foot from Anthony Joshua, and then a double left jab, right cross, and this fight bursting into life with 40 seconds gone in this 8th round. And referee Marcus McDonald calling time because Jermaine Franklin could be in trouble here. Calling time, and Marcus McDonald reading the right attack to Jermaine Franklin because he pushed Anthony Joshua away as though this were a wrestling match rather than a noble art of self-defense. Timing called, 2 minutes 10 seconds remaining. But Anthony Joshua said, despite linking up with a new trainer, boxing is the foundation of everything that he does. Even though he was a gunslinger in the early part of his career, the Dupree has gone into championship level boxing. He's trying to improve and demonstrate his own sweet science accomplishments up in the ropes arena. Of course, that's very hard to do at that level. His white shorts now stained a shade of pink because of the blood leaking from his nose and perhaps from his mouth as well. There's a tangle at centre ring causing the intervention of referee Marcus McDonald. Jermaine Franklin just bobbing and weaving on the edge of range. Counter right, left right attempt by Anthony Joshua, but it was short. Corner have done a good job on the swelling beneath the right eye of Jermaine Franklin because it is still evident, but it hasn't developed as rapidly as we were anticipating it might. Minute 10 remaining in this 7th round. The two boxers leaning on one another at centre ring once again. It's a really untidy grapple, but it's interesting that despite being lighter, it's Jermaine Franklin with his shorter stature walking Anthony Joshua backwards. Jermaine Franklin in many respects, with no disrespect intended, resembling a tree stump at just 6'2" maximum. And this new svelte weight of 31 pounds. Excuse me, 223 pounds, 23 pounds lighter than he was previously. Solid left hand landed by Jermaine Franklin, put into a headlock by Anthony Joshua. And now the shaping on the edge of range continues. Double left jab from Anthony Joshua, and there's a glance to the corner by Anthony Joshua, who furrowed his brow and nodded in the direction of Derek James, as if to say, don't worry, I'm hearing the instructions that you're giving, but his concentration was on something other than the man in front of him who's looking to unload punches with bad intentions. Right uppercut fired from Anthony Joshua was blocked by the forearm, and this one being fought increasingly at close range now, more grappling taking place, and an untidy conclusion to the round. Marcus McDonald trying to talk to Anthony Joshua not wanting to hear it as he went back to the blue corner, Steve.
AJ's not very happy with how successful Jermaine Franklin is at tying him up. He's a wrestler. That's what they do. They grapple. It's called grappling. That's what he's doing. He's tying AJ up, and AJ can't get the right uppercut, Carl, because he needs to create a bit of space. And what's more, we just push the man off.
Yeah, listen, Jermaine Franklin's grappling a little bit, making it a little bit messy up close, but for me, the bigger picture here is that Anthony Joshua is really flat in there. This is a flat performance from AJ. He's got every opportunity now with an opponent in front of him in Jermaine Franklin, who's slowed down. He's not very busy. He's standing flat-footed. He's not really showing any ambition in there. AJ's got an opportunity to follow up on some of these crisp right hands that we're seeing on the replay.
Yes.
And that's crisp right hands. Then where's the combination? Where's the 4 or 5 punches after that to try and stamp his authority? There's nothing behind it.
So we go into the 9th round. Anthony Joshua must be in a commanding position on the scorecards. Comes out with a corkscrew left hand, which was an uppercut. It was countered by a left hook over the top from Jermaine Franklin. Short left jab from Jermaine Franklin, who's jabbing his way out of his own red corner as the two boxers approach centre ring, looking to back up Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua pursing his lips as he fired a right hand, and then he employed that familiar tactic that we used to see in his early career of claiming his man around the rear of the neck with his left hand and firing in a right uppercut. But on the break is Marcus McDonald talking to Jermaine Franklin about reckless use of the head, although there was a clear illegal tactic applied by Anthony Joshua going back to his street fighting days in Watford and North London. 50 seconds gone in this round as Anthony Joshua looking to tie Jermaine Franklin up on the inside once again, and he's doing an effective job in applying an arm bar to the right arm of Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin leaning in with his braided hair into the forehead of Anthony Joshua. Ponderous right hand lead fired by Anthony Joshua. The two men fell into a tangle once again, and just as he did against Carlos Takam, Anthony Joshua just having a bit of a frustrated look on his face. His brow was furrowed as he missed that shot, as if to say, come on, I can time my guy better than that. There's a lead right hook attempted by Anthony Joshua as the two men fall on the inside once again. And for his excellence in counter punching on the edge of range, Jermaine Franklin, he's not really demonstrating much prowess on the inside here because he's been given plenty of opportunity getting inside the longer arms of Anthony Joshua, who lets a two-shot salvo go. That brings a round of applause from the crowd, but he was off the mark and inaccurate with both of his punches. And now, for the first time, Jermaine Franklin just looking a little bit crude as he came forward, long bridging his man with his left hand, but he couldn't find a range with his right hand. His left hand was in the abdomen of Anthony Joshua. There's a sneaky right hand over the top from Jermaine Franklin, but once again, the two men fall into a tangle as they look to clinch and work away on the inside. Anthony Joshua landed a sneaky right hand while the two men were locked in at close range, but Jermaine Franklin walking into short range once again. Referee Marcus McDonald calling time and reading the riot act, saying, listen, this is boxing, not wrestling. Get it together and let's put on a show for the crowd. But Anthony Joshua, sometimes just appearing a little bit distracted. At the end of the previous round, he looked to Derek James. Then he looked to referee Marcus McDonald before he called time. 40 seconds to go in this 9th round. Nice left jab to the body, right hand over the top from Jermaine Franklin just caused Anthony Joshua to totter momentarily. It landed high and on his temple, and after he landed a left jab, right cross, a sneaky right hand was bombed over the top out of a crowd from Jermaine Franklin, and Anthony Joshua just tottered momentarily. His feet are totally flat, Anthony Joshua. He's in center ring. Telegraph attack was indicated by Jermaine Franklin. Didn't pull the trigger. There he's put on the end of a left jab while firing a left hook of his own. And Anthony Joshua is winning the rounds. But this, well, he's not dominating the contest, and Jermaine Franklin is in this every second of the way. Anthony Joshua must be in complete control, but Jermaine Franklin not intimidated or discouraged. Let's head to the Tokyo Olympic bronze medalist Fraser Clark and get his thoughts once again.
Yeah, it's becoming difficult to score now. You know, there's a lot of holding. The referee's having to intervene quite a lot. I think Jermaine Franklin's doing a really good job of making it difficult for Joshua to land the right hand that, you know, we can see that he's looking for it. I'd like to see him do it from, you know, behind the jab, more jabs, and maybe change up a little bit. It looks a bit like he's running out of ideas a little bit, which is making Jermaine Franklin make this into a scrappy type fight, which is going to suit him better.
Well, there's no shortage of ideas coming from Derek James in that corner. I'm not sure if he's talking to AJ or Sugar Ray Leonard at the moment. It's quite ridiculous what's going on. Just tell him, Derek, to throw a jab, step in and drop a right hand, please.
10 seconds.
Yeah, he's throwing combinations. Anthony Joshua's trainer, and he's maybe trying to motivate him. Anthony Joshua, for me, is still stuck in 3rd gear, and he don't want to get out of it for some reason. I don't know why.
So into the 10th round then, Anthony Joshua, late to rise off his stool, marched across the ring and fired out a left jab. The action is just above the red corner, around figure 4 on the clock face. If you consider that we're at figure 5, and now Jermaine Franklin being backed up to his own red corner. I could reach out and touch him if Jermaine Franklin was put on the end of a left jab. The attempted right hand from Anthony Joshua was short. Nice right uppercut ripped through with the two men at close range. Oh, beautiful right uppercut on the inside, followed by a right hook as Anthony Joshua, with his best shots in some rounds, can he sustain it? And he lands a pulverizing right cross once again, just on the edge of center ring, near the red corner. Anthony Joshua, though, perhaps letting Jermaine Franklin's senses clear, because after landing a peach of a right cross, he didn't follow up with any punches whatsoever, and Jermaine Franklin was just able to remain on the edge of range and regain his composure. That swelling beneath the right eye becoming more angry and aggressive now, and perhaps Jermaine Franklin becoming a one-eyed fighter, and he may find those left hooks hard to pick up from that particular optic. Minute 5 gone in this 10th round. Lead left jab being held out by Anthony Joshua. Jermaine Franklin short by some distance, and then Anthony Joshua long bridging his man. Beautiful corkscrew left hook. Uppercut landed by Anthony Joshua. Action is at center ring, as Jermaine Franklin trying to counter with a left-right to the body, but both his shots off the mark. Anthony Joshua just slowly looking to assert his dominance now, but a sneaky right hand landed by Jermaine Franklin. It came behind a range-finding left jab. What a right uppercut landed from Anthony Joshua, followed by a right hook, and then another right hook uppercut while he's holding Jermaine Franklin around the rear of his neck. This one has turned into a firefight. The crowd dialing up the decibel level as the action was over on the ropes at figure 8 on the clock face. Action is back in center ring after the intervention of Marcus McDonald. The heaviest punches of the entire contest landed by Anthony Joshua, but once again Jermaine Franklin showing sturdy punch resistance and coming through that fire. Minute to go in this 10th round. Long right cross lands once again, swiveling the head of Jermaine Franklin, and Jermaine Franklin giving the impression that he's just slowing down a little bit now, because he's been touched up by some heavy leather from the 255-pound Anthony Joshua. But Joshua remaining composed, fired the left jab, telegraphed the right uppercut, didn't commit or pull the trigger. Jermaine Franklin buying time, shaping and bobbing and weaving on the edge of range. Tried to launch an attack to the body with a left jab, right hook, but the left jab scored while the right hook was off the mark. Closing 20 seconds of this round. Anthony Joshua looking for the right uppercut once again. Jermaine Franklin able to evade it, and the rear of his head ended up beneath the right armpit of Anthony Joshua. The boxers in center ring. Jermaine Franklin backing up towards his own red corner, takes another right cross, and this the best contest of the best round of the entire contest for Anthony Joshua, who slowly but surely began to assert his authority in that round and landed some heavy shots on a fairly consistent basis, Steve.
And it was the big right uppercut, the shot that he's been denied, that Franklin has managed to avoid or grapple his way clear of taking. It was a big right uppercut, and it really hurt Franklin. It was like he was holding on. For a moment there, Carl, we were witness to 90 seconds of the old Joshua.
Yes, that's right. And I think that was more to do with Jermaine Franklin's decline. He's slowing down, he's looking a bit lackluster, he's looking to hold, and he's on the end of quite a few shots. And AJ was able to capitalise on that. He landed a lovely uppercut there, we've seen on the replay on these screens. Some nice clean right hands. He's not stepping in, putting the combos together, but you know, there's no argument why take the risks. He's winning this fight quite comfortably. He's had a great round there. Jermaine Franklin looks like he's ready to go. So maybe he'll be getting advice from his corner, Anthony Joshua, to step on the gas now and get the job done.
Well, both cornermen, Jesse Addison and Anthony Joshua, receiving instructions or giving instructions to their boxers as the bell sounded, taking us into the championship round. It's the 11th round of a scheduled 12. Anthony Joshua enjoying his best round of the entire contest, landing a heavy right uppercut which put Jermaine Franklin just in a little bit of bother. And Anthony Joshua capitalizing by landing some clumping right hands following up from that. Has the 60-second interval been enough for Jermaine Franklin to recover and rediscover some of the spark and sparkle that he was demonstrating earlier on in the contest? Joshua looking for the right uppercut once again as the two boxers are entwined in a clinch at center ring. Referee Marcus McDonnell separates the two boxers, and it's Anthony Joshua pawing with his lead left hand. He's got that right hand locked and loaded, ready to unload, ready to uncoil. Left hook not too far away from Anthony Joshua. Solid left hand to the body, doubles over Jermaine Franklin, who then takes a right uppercut as he was looking to initiate a clinch. And now Franklin does get on the inside and gets the clinch that he was so desperate to employ, because that left hook to the body almost folded him in half. Terrific punch picking from Anthony Joshua. Approaching the halfway stage of this penultimate round. Will it go to the distance if Anthony Joshua continues to unload heavy artillery? And a beautiful right uppercut, but is countered immediately by a left-right from Jermaine Franklin. His best success for some rounds. The right hand that came from Jermaine Franklin was solid indeed and swiveled the head of Anthony Joshua beyond the midpoint of this 11th round. Action is in the middle of the boxing ring. Pawing with his lead left hand, turning it into a long left hook is Anthony Joshua. Speculative raid to the body by Jermaine Franklin, a left jab followed by a roundhouse right. Neither shot landed with full purchase, as both men looking to establish their lead hands once again as they peer between gloves that are held high. Solid left jab landed by Anthony Joshua, jolted Jermaine Franklin and stopped him in his tracks. Franklin, aware of that, came back with a lead left hook but couldn't find the range, as Jermaine Franklin looking sharper in this round after the success that he enjoyed with that sneaky overhand right, compared to the manner that he was demonstrating at the end of the 10th round. 40 seconds to go in round 11, and it's Anthony Joshua edging forwards. Left-right combination was off the mark, the right hand coming back on a circuitous route. Then he gets back with a beautiful double jab. The third left jab was off the mark, as was the follow-up right cross. But Anthony Joshua controlling the distance very effectively with that lead left stick, and when he threw it in that double jab combination fashion, it was heavy and stiff and authoritative. 10-second clapper imminent here at the O2 Arena. Roundhouse right with a solid shot from Jermaine Franklin, and again just reminding Anthony Joshua that he is in a two-way tussle. That's naughty. Well, perhaps not. I thought Anthony Joshua was guilty of hitting on the break. Marcus McDonnell was in between them, but had he shoot the commander break? But a good round for Joshua overall.
It's interesting there because Marcus did something that he shouldn't have done really. He got in the middle of them and didn't say break, but he was in the middle of them. So you're sending a message that it's break. And then Joshua instinctively let the left hand go. Well, who thought we'd get 11 rounds like this with some of the rounds we've had, Carl? Sure, we saw some things from AJ there letting his hands go, but who thought we'd be here?
Well, we didn't think it'd be a close competitive. I mean, it's not close competitive in the sense that, you know, it's either way. Anthony Joshua's clearly winning the rounds. He's in front, but he's in a fight here. you know, and he's not able to close the show when Jermaine Franklin is there for the taking. I want to see AJ jump on Franklin now and make a statement, but he's happy and he's allowed to do whatever he wants, by the way. If he wants to just box to a victory and coast, and he's got a game plan he's working to, fair play to him.
And that's what he'll do.
That's what I think, but I'd like to see more to send that statement out to the other heavyweight champions.
So Anthony Joshua pointing his right glove to the roof as he made his way to centre ring to engage in a cursory touch of gloves with Jermaine Franklin. The action underway now, both boxers in the middle of the boxing ring, and it's Anthony Joshua just flicking out a touching left jab. Jermaine Franklin, perhaps aware of the fact that he's trailing on the scorecards, was looking to get busy with his lead left hand and score to the body. The boxers grappling in the middle of the boxing ring. Referee Marcus McDonnell, whose shirt is also stained pink from the blood that has been spilled in this heavyweight contest, separated the two boxers, and now they are just on the edge of range. Nice counter right hand landed by Anthony Joshua, then a beautiful lead left hook followed by a left jab. Stab jab to the body from Anthony Joshua. Franklin launching a forward foray off the mark, and so fell into a headlock beneath the left armpit of the former two-time heavyweight champion of the world. Approaching a minute gone in this final round. For my money, Jermaine Franklin needs a knockout. He's shown some pop in his punches, particularly his right hand over the top, which he's landed in sneaky fashion on occasion, not consistently enough to ensure that he's winning the contest. I think Joshua's in front by a proverbial country mile, and so Jermaine Franklin has got to find the stoppage. 14 of his 21 victories have come via the short route, but of course he has never fought anyone of this caliber before. Two men came together, Jermaine Franklin shoving Anthony Joshua into the ropes just above our commentary position. Referee Marcus McDonnell separating the two, and the crowd increasing their decibel level because there was a bit of a running conversation between the two, as if to say, you want to engage in those kind of tactics? Okay, I'll see you down there. Forward foray from Jermaine Franklin, sees him slam a right hand into the body of Anthony Joshua before his head wound up on the sternum of Anthony Joshua. Action is in the middle of the ring. Double left jab, right cross from AJ, who is continuing to control matters effectively, but it hasn't been an explosive nor a dominant performance. It's been a controlling one. And the new partnership between Derek James and Anthony Joshua. Oh, that's a clumping lead right hook landed by Anthony Joshua, followed by a right uppercut. And Jermaine Franklin keeps the hold on, but now he's trying to free his hands and fight back. And it's Anthony Joshua looking to tie up Jermaine Franklin as he's bulldozed to his own blue corner on the far side of the ring. But terrific singles landed by Anthony Joshua once again. Inside the final minute of the right-hand lead, he's thundered over the top from Jermaine Franklin. And now Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin entwined like pretzels once more. Referee Marcus McDonnell has to crowbar the two men apart. Jermaine Franklin claims his man around the waist like a prop on the rugby field, and that's why the boos are cascading down from the capacity crowd here at the O2 Arena, because Jermaine Franklin, despite fighting through the fire he was placed under, may well have been shaken up by those heavy singles landed by the former two-time heavyweight champ. 10-second clapper is sounded, and it results in a burst of activity from both boxers, who are looking to let their hands go in furious fashion at centre ring. But another clinch ensues, and that is the end of the contest. A contest which has gone the 12-round distance, and now the two men engaging a little bit of roughhousing, showing their strength after it is turning nasty. And now cornermen and security having to jump in, because Lorenzo Reynolds, the strength and conditioning trainer of Jermaine Franklin, a 15-0 welterweight in his pop between 2004-2006, and a former two-time national Golden Gloves champion, took exception to the roughhousing that took place after the bell had sounded. And now Lorenzo Reynolds and Tony Bellew exchanging words, and is kicking off right behind our position here at ringside. Security calling for cooler heads to prevail, and it's all getting a little bit physical. Steve Bunce playing his role as peacemaker. We've known Tony Bellew since he was a teenaged amateur. Steve Bunce divesting of the headphones and just imploring Tony Bellew to keep a cool head, because that threats to turn nasty after the bell had sounded. Thankfully, both boxers have returned to their corners. Calm and order has been restored, and Anthony Joshua, in his first contest with his new trainer Derek James, has produced a commanding victory. But we can't call it a dominant victory, Steve Bunce, because he lost one round, maybe a couple of rounds. He wasn't in danger of losing the contest. Jermaine Franklin perhaps increased his stock, but Anthony Joshua, a comfortable winner on points.
You know what, Ronald, we might have a situation here where that wasn't the fight we wanted, but it might have just been the fight that AJ needed. He's got 12 rounds with the corner. He's gone through some stuff. He was clearly working his way through each round and doing particular stuff. Who knows? Perhaps that was the fight he needed. It certainly wasn't the one we wanted. Let's get that absolutely right. It was an odd spectacle at times. Carl and I were looking at each other, exchanging shrugs. And as for the end there, well, I've got to be honest with you, I do think, and he's a nice guy, Lorenzo Reynolds. I spent some time with him this week. He overstepped the mark because AJ was joking with Franklin. I think he started off joking, saying, "You're doing this, man, you're doing this." Then I think Franklin got upset. Then Lorenzo went in, and then it was a pile-in. And then it was a pile-in. And that's what happens. It gets emotional at ringside.
It was a strange one what Anthony Joshua was doing. He was leaning on Franklin at the end there, staying on his face. And I don't think the cornermen of Franklin knew what was going on, so he just stepped in and it got a bit weird. Then Tony Bellew stepped in and started having a go, and it was all a little bit handbags at dawn, to be honest. But all unnecessary. It's all sorted. AJ gets the win, but for me, not convincing enough.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be what's going to happen. People are going to look at it and say, it wasn't convincing enough. He didn't get him out of there. He didn't take him out of there. But listen, he got 12 rounds, which is maybe what he needed. But let's reiterate, that wasn't what we wanted. But it's not like he had him hurt, staggering and falling over and then stepped back. He never had him in that position, Ronald.
No, as both boxers, just tell you the scene here at the O2 Arena, both boxers are either side of referee Marcus McDonald, and now David Diamante has the particulars.
Arena, we go to the judges' score totals. Steve Gray, 118 to 111. Alex Levin and Fabian Guggenheim both scored about 117 to 111. All three. Your winner by unanimous decision, Anthony Joshua.
So an impassive Anthony Joshua stands at ring center and raises his left fist to the O2 Arena ceiling. He has returned to winning ways after losing 2 fights on the spin in his heavyweight title fight against Alexander Usyk. He's taken the distance for the first time here at the O2 Arena in this, what is his 8th contest at the venue where he made his debut. But Jermaine Franklin, even in defeat, his stock continues to rise because he has committed and acquitted himself very effectively indeed against the former 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. Showed wonderful boxing skill, wonderful counter-punching ability. I think the scorecard's a fair reflection of what transpired, Carl. But Jermaine Franklin has shown that he's a good operator on this level after boxing in obscurity for so long.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. I would agree with that, but he's not a guy that you would say would really be in contention to fight any of the big boys in the weight division, the top 4, top 5. He's not going to compete with them and ever win a world title against any of the current cream. You know, you won't put him in there with Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder. He's not good enough. And Anthony Joshua there, a second or third gear Anthony Joshua, and he stepped it up every now and again. He kind of made easy work of Jermaine Franklin. He wasn't interested in really getting involved until right at the end of the fight, AJ. And when he put shots together, he did have Franklin hurt and wobbled and had him in some kinds of trouble. But Franklin, yeah, his stock will rise. He'll be a good opponent for world title competitors moving forward, certainly.
Thank you very much, Carl Froch, alongside Ronald McIntosh and, of course, Steve Bunt. As we witness here at the O2, Anthony Joshua with his first fight on the way back to redemption, and he did it in a way that people were not necessarily expecting, but in a way, Carl Froch, that he needed to be able to do to get those 12 rounds to really show that he can still fight. But like we said, maybe not as convincing as it could have been this evening.
Listen, when you're coming off 2 losses as a professional, and you've had multiple worlds, he's been a unified champion. He's had all the belts bar the WBC, which for me is the best belt in the business. That's not taking anything away from the IBF or the WBA or the WBO. But when you've been a world champion, you've campaigned at the top of the world. You want to get back to winning ways. And before you do that, if you're going to have a warm-up fight, you want to be going in there and obliterating an opponent that doesn't belong at world level. Anthony Joshua didn't go in there. He went in there and convincingly won, but he didn't show any of the current champions that he's any kind of threat.
Yeah, and you know, I was just sitting here watching. I was watching it with Big Fraze, and you could hear Big Fraze, Tony Bellew really shouting the instructions. But across the way, I saw Dillian White. Dillian White had a smile on his face. This is somebody who's looking and thinking, this could be my next fight. Do you think he even convinced someone like Dillian White that this could be a fight that he's up for?
Listen, Dillian White would fancy the job there with Anthony Joshua based on that performance, 100%. And you'd have to say that's a close fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ron, as you're calling that fight, as you start to go through the rounds, when did you kind of realise or see that this might not go the way that we thought?
Well, it's difficult to know what we thought. We were hoping, given the weight that he came in at, that it would be perhaps a slightly more reckless AJ. But as I mentioned during commentary, he has always stressed that boxing is the cornerstone of everything that he does. He tried to exhibit his boxing skill, trying to remain loose at the shoulders. But again, I think we mentioned early on during our broadcast that Jermaine Franklin had a sense of permanence about him because he did take some heavy shots on occasion. They weren't consistently unloaded by Anthony Joshua, but Jermaine Franklin stated that he's got a rock-solid chin, and my goodness, he certainly demonstrated it tonight because he took some heavy singles.
Some heavy singles, but what about the follow-ups? What about the combination shots? Something that we knew that if AJ were to let his hands go to absolutely unload, that could have been the knockout we needed to see tonight.
Most certainly, but Carl will be better equipped to answer this question. But sometimes when you hit a guy and you know that it hasn't brought the effect that you want, it would be really risky to empty the tank, unload everything, and then you've still got a minute and a half to survive in the round. So a circumspect performance by Anthony Joshua in many respects, but he will have known when he caught the guy with the heavy singles whether it was worth the investment to follow up with an explosive fusillade that would have got the crowd going, but may have taken more out of him than it did out of his opponent Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah.
I personally think that because Anthony Joshua lost his last two fights, he wanted to come here tonight and win.
Yeah.
That's like minimum criteria. Get the win. That's the most important thing. And rightly so. But this is an entertainment business. And if he's going to send a statement out to the other heavyweights, I mean, OK, it doesn't matter if he sends a statement out or not. He's a big enough name to get them fights. But it wasn't a convincing enough win. Yeah. When I lost to Andre Ward, I came back and boxed unbeaten Lucian Butte. A 5-round demolition job. That was an angry, aggressive performance from a guy myself who wanted to make a statement and prove something to myself that I belong at world level. So here I am. I backed him up. I smashed him to bits, obliterated him. That was one of my career best performances. Then I went on to have them two fights with George Groves, defend my title and retire. We know where that one happened, at Wembley Stadium. We know how many people were there as well. Anthony Joshua tonight did the job. He did what he had to do, but I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more aggression. I wanted to see more combination. We saw flashes of it there at the end.
At the end, but why at the end, though, Carl? Why not during the fight?
Because he knows when the final bell goes, he can go home.
Yeah.
You don't want to be tired in round 6 or 7, which Ronald McIntosh pointed out, and we have seen him gas after round 7. So he's got all these things going on in his mind. He did what he had to do tonight to get the win. It was convincing enough, but he didn't send a message. Did what he had to do. Maybe he doesn't care.
What now, then, Ron? You know, what now? We're looking at, a former 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. Not the most convincing job tonight. On the way back up to potentially wanting to become the 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. Where next for Anthony Joshua?
Well, he is still among the biggest, if not the biggest draw in the heavyweight division. He's a man who can consistently sell out stadiums. That was a trend that was really not established, but kicked on by the man to our left, because we saw Joe Calzaghe fight in Cardiff. We saw Ricky Hatton fight at Manchester Stadium. Carl Froch put 80,000 in the stands against George Groves in his rematch. But Anthony Joshua, 5 stadium fights in the UK, big venues all over the world. He still has that drawing power, that marketability. So other heavyweights would entertain him. Would he be able to command without a belt what he's commanded previously? That's open to question. But I think AJ against anybody is an attractive proposition. But from a mentality point of view, and I'm interested to get Carl's perspective on this, is he ready to jump right back into contention at title level? Because Usyk's bested him twice, and Tyson Fury, well, he's undefeated at present. Steve Bunce.
Thanks very much indeed, Ronald. AJ, 12 rounds, packed crowd. How do you assess it?
No knockout, so no good.
You're being that harsh?
It's a brutal sport, and knockouts is everything. But yeah, no knockout, so I'm not too happy, to be fair.
And I know he's got a good chin and you still call him with shots. Why wasn't there a knockout? Could you have done more? Look, I know it's the immediate after. Could you have done more?
So there's two reasons. It's one, either my punch power or his durable chin. They're the only two things, to be fair.
So we know you've still got the punch power. You haven't lost your punch power when you're staying in Dallas. If anything, your punch power might have improved because Derek knows how to bring out the best in you. So it's his chin. Maybe could you have thrown more shots? Maybe.
Yeah, I could have. So there's no excuse. I could have and I didn't, but I will. That's the whole point in like coming back again and just getting on to the next opportunity. You know what I mean? So I didn't. I should have, and I will.
You're being quite harsh on yourself.
You have to be your own biggest critic. You have to be your own biggest critic, if I'm honest. If you want to progress, I can't be here like, yeah, that was brilliant, and then go and chill out. You know?
So could you have let the left hook maybe go after one or two of the rights or drop the right hand more? Is that what you're saying? You could...
100%. But you know what else with him as well? He's a decent counter puncher. So, like, the right hand weren't landing, so... The right hand weren't landing.
It's your father rubbing you down.
So the right hand weren't landing, so I really couldn't. Yeah, that's one of my most powerful shots. But we'll build.
So let's throw it forward. I'm not going to talk about super fights, ridiculous fights. I'm talking about when you're going back with Derek. Then is that something you're going to play in on quick? Because you talk about building.
Whatever my coach wants to work on, I'll work on.
So are you happy with Derek in the corner? Are you happy with that?
I really look, and I want to say I don't want to put my. I think I get a lot of pressure, so I'd rather not put my pressure on Derek. Anything that happens in this ring moving forward, it's all on me.
Was there too much pressure tonight on you to perform and to look good? Everyone was saying that the Tyson Fury fight only works if you get rid of him in 5 or 6 rounds. That's pressure. Let's get it right. You're a big boy. We're big boys. That's pressure.
I don't know. There is pressure, but it is what it is. Like, you want this opportunity. If you want to be a fighter, you got to deal with the pressure, innit?
AJ, thanks very much for your time, and I really mean that. Hold on, could we just... Oh, we think we've lost Eddie. I think we've lost Eddie Hearn, which is he's just being dragged somewhere else, which is a bit of a nuisance. We'll try and drag him. We let him escape. That's not a problem. We'll try and grab hold of him. I've got to be honest with you. I'm not sure I've ever heard Anthony Joshua be that serious. I don't think I've ever heard that from him. In fact, I know I've never heard that from him, ever.
And Steve, he did sound dejected, but of course he's just finished 12 rounds. And for an important fight like that tonight, you can see he gave himself a brutal and honest assessment there just now, Steve. And it's always difficult coming off the back of a fight like that, isn't it?
It is difficult coming off the back of a fight like that. But that was different. I mean, he's just basically written off that performance. He's been as harsh in that performance as any of his critics. The people that were writing they hadn't sold any tickets. The people that were writing he's got no chin, no heart, no punch. And he raised 2 questions. He said it was either his chin or I've lost my punching ability. Well, he's got a good chin and he hasn't lost his punching ability. And when I asked him, should he have thrown more punches, he went quiet and he said, yeah, perhaps I should have. I've never known him that dejected after a fight. And I think there'll be an awful lot of people finding flaws of him and coming up with very early obituaries.
I think so. And Carl Froch, I think a lot of people are going to have something to say. This is AJ. He's coming at 255 pounds into this fight, but there wasn't 255 pounds of weight behind some of those punches that we know that he can do.
No, there was no combinations, no authority, and then there was like the second attack. So when you've hit your opponent with a jab, a right hand, a left hook, and then you push them back and they have a look at you for a counter punch, even if they throw a counter punch, meet them as they come. If the counter punch doesn't come, go again with another attack. You need to throw 10, 15, sometimes 20 punches. When I stopped Jermaine Taylor in the last round in my first world title defence, I'd thrown 18 unanswered shots. Before that, I was hunting him down, landing shot after shot after shot because I needed the stoppage. Anthony Joshua had no urgency there in there tonight.
Jermaine, he seemed to frustrate him. Jermaine Franklin frustrated Anthony Joshua, and you could see it, the grappling, especially after round 7 and so.
Yeah, but he was flat-footed at times. He was looking for the single shots and not looking to put combos and put any kind of finish together. A lack of belief in there at times, and he was quite flat. I think the question you asked earlier, where does Anthony Joshua go from here? Well, I'll tell you where he doesn't go. He doesn't go Alexander Usyk. He doesn't go Deontay Wilder. He doesn't go Tyson Fury. So where does he go? Maybe Dylan White. That's a dangerous fight for him.
That is a dangerous fight, and a fight that, of course, back in 2015, Ron, you'll probably correct me, when they first went at it. Similar scenes after the first round that we saw today after the final bell. And is that dropping down a level for someone like Anthony Joshua? You know, where does his legacy go now when you start to look back towards those fights with someone like Dillian Whyte?
Well, there's so much emotion between those guys that, irrespective of where they are in their respective careers, that is always likely to be a compelling and probably competitive affair. But we're going to hand over to Steve Bunce now, Jeanette, because he's with AJ's new trainer.
Derek, thanks very much for sharing a bit of time with us. I spoke to AJ, and the first thing he said was, I don't want to put any pressure on Derek. He said, my pressures, the pressure I get put under here by the British public, that's not Derek's fault. That's big of him.
No, that's pressure. The whole world is watching, man. So it's like, it's pressure regardless of how he feels. I mean, if you think about it, the fighters are coming here to fight him, but those trainers are thinking about beating me, winning the trainer of the year and all the other stuff. So they're thinking about taking that from me. So for me, it's a lot of pressure because I have a whole country behind.
Waiting for you.
That's right, yeah. But behind him, so that means I have to produce, and I think that he did well. I didn't care about how he won, I just cared that he won. Yes. And we can go back and build. So
you're quite happy. You've got 12 good rounds. You've worked in the corner. Right. So you're quite happy with what you're seeing going forward, Derek?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I think that he could have picked it up a little bit and stopped Franklin, because I think Franklin was ready to go. But at the same time, hey, if he didn't, I'm okay with that.
So there's no panic in the corner. And did you like what you were seeing and hearing from AJ? You know, because you may have been in the gym with him, but suddenly he's coming back. It's round 7, it's round 8. Everyone's getting naturally tired. He's a big man. But were you happy with what you were hearing from him in the corner?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, because he really wasn't saying anything. It was me doing the talking. So he just listened, and it was okay. I wasn't upset. I mean, listen, all I care about is the victory. I don't care how we get it, whether he knocked him out, whether he did whatever, because we have a foundation to build on. The defense was really good. He started counterpunching a little bit because he started getting a little comfortable. So what happens is, more and more you'll see him get better and better and better.
So we move on to AJ Derek 2 now. We've had AJ Derek 1 in front of 17, 18,000 people.
Everyone is significant. Because listen, my everything is on the line, just like his everything is on the line.
So going forward, Derek, I'm going to throw it out there. Where would you like to see AJ in 3 or 4 months? Can you think of an opponent, or am I putting you under too much pressure?
No, really, I always am not involved with it, to the sense where I just care what he wants. Whoever he wants, that's what I want for him. I'm not a guy who picks it. I want this guy, I want that guy. But I think that it's all about him getting what he wants.
Derek, listen, it's been a pleasure this week. You've been fantastic over it. It's been great. And thanks very much for dealing with the pressure, because you're under a lot of pressure with these 17,000 people, brother.
Yeah. That's life, though. It's okay. I'm not bothered by it. Every time I do something, you got to know. You say how many people?
17,000 minimum.
No. I'm talking about the whole world is watching, though.
No, listen, everyone's watching.
So it's like, so that's what I'm talking about. So the pressure of everybody in here, the pressure of everybody outside here. It's a big deal.
And if he'd have lost, they would have said, that Derek James, I told you he was rubbish.
Listen, I don't think about the L word, so I can't even say it when it goes to my guys. But yeah, I mean, hey.
Derek, thanks very much indeed. Doesn't even think about the L word. Hey, that's what I like.
That's it's very American way of thinking, isn't it? Very American way of thinking.
Thank you very much indeed. Derek, thank you.
Steve, just as you're there, in the week when we were speaking to Jesse Addison, as in Jermaine Franklin's coach, and he really questioned the mentality of someone like Anthony Joshua, who's been there, he's done it, and when it gets dark and when it gets deep, you know, where does he go? What becomes his why? And I think that was quite evident tonight in the ring, isn't it? What then becomes his why he's there and why he wants to be the best again?
Well, he has said in the past, and in fact the recent past, say 6 weeks ago, he said it was money. But then he said, actually, of course, it's not just money. Money's part of it. Then there's reputations involved. Then there's legacy involved. So it's not just the money. But there is no two ways about it. There is something still burning deep inside Anthony Joshua. I think he's chasing for respect. Here's a guy that's, getting closer close to becoming a national idol, loved, respected, and recognised. I really believe it. In fact, just over there now. I mean, this is classic. This is classic AJ. Okay, AJ's got out of the ring. He should be in the dressing room. He should be back there. No, he's not. He's in the middle of a crowd doing autographs, and as I say, kissing babies' heads. All of the usual Anthony Joshua stuff. It's the stuff we've come to expect with him. He's made a detour into the crowd. He's given the security detail absolute nightmares and headaches. He's there doing selfies with people. He's posing with people. He takes the selfies. You can't invent this. When people ask me how popular is he, okay, because they've read something that suggests no one's going to follow him anymore. They've heard something somewhere broadcast that the place hasn't sold out. There wasn't a single seat in here tonight, and that's why that man wandering through the crowd there. And when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, Ronald was there that night. He stayed in the ring for about 90 minutes afterwards. We were not only off air, we'd done all our other business. Just greeting people, saying hello to people. The same stuff he's doing there, Janelle.
Yeah.
If we go off air at midnight, he'll still be out here in the crowd at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's that simple.
The sweat hasn't even come off of his back, but that is the draw, the power, the machine that is behind someone like Anthony Joshua, Ronald. And it just goes to show, like we say, he's still a star within his own rights, but like a damning assessment when he spoke to Steve Bunce. You could hear Derek James speak about what needs to change in terms of things they could do, but he's very positive as well, talking about the base, the foundation. This is something that they can work on. They're trying to strip back this fighter and bring him back as somebody, and almost a reinvention, if you like.
Perhaps a reinvention, or perhaps a reversion to what he was previously, where he wasn't risk-averse and where he would let his hands go, and in doing so leave himself in the firing line. As Steve said, when he was training out in Dallas, Texas, he's hewing an axe. It's in stark contrast to the sports science that they have at the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield, where he developed his craft as a GB boxer and then as an Olympian, becoming the Olympic heavyweight champion. When you go to that gym in Dallas, Texas, alongside Derek James and Jamel Charlo and Errol Spence, first of all, he's not the best boxer in the gym. And those guys use old school, hardcore methods. And Carl, I'm not sure whether you've never not been the best boxer in the gym, but when you're alongside guys who are better than you, how does it motivate you and elevate your own game, even if you are a world champion? Because that's what AJ is facing, training in that camp out in Dallas.
Yeah, it brings you up. It brings you on. I mean, if you're surrounded by... When you play golf, I play with people who play off single figures and I play off 16. And, you know, it brings your game on. So if you're in the gym with world champions, I started off sparring with a guy called Howard Eastman. Some people will remember him. Boxing purists certainly will.
About to see Bomber.
You'll know him. He beat my coach, Ron McCracken, towards the end of Ron McCracken's career. And I've been in the gym with people like Eric Timor. People won't know, he was like blood, sweat and guts. You can remember Eric Timor as well. So yeah, when you're around good fighters, Wayne Alexander was a British champion light heavyweight, and it brings you on. The sparring's competitive. It's hard. They punch hard. They hit you with shots when you make mistakes. And if Anthony Joshua's obviously, he's not sparring with these younger lads that are in the gym with him and these lighter world champions, but he's seeing how good they are. He's being around that enthusiasm and that work rate and that pace. So that'll bring him to the next level. But in the ring at world title level, he's been there, seen it and done it. He's had every belt in the business except for that WBC, which Tyson Fury's had and holds. And now, I don't know, it's what motivates him. We talked about he wants the money. I don't understand why he's still fighting. I really don't.
Wow.
I just don't, because it's a dangerous sport. When I got my kids, I thought to myself, you know what? I've done enough, I've made enough, and now I can retire and go out on the crest of the wave, which was Wembley Stadium. Anthony Joshua's back in the ring. He said he's motivated by money. Money can't be a motivation when you've already earned over 100 million quid.
Yeah, that's not enough, isn't it?
So
like money doesn't become enough. And when you're thinking about champions, like we say, when it gets dark, when it gets deep, what is their why? Where do they go in terms of really digging down into their gut to say, I need to get out of this hole and I need to get this
Listen,
ring.
Desire is not driven by money. It's just not. It's as simple as that. You have to want to win them world titles. You've got to want to get through the hard times in the ring. You've got to be able to climb off the canvas. I think the first time Anthony Joshua gets any kind of adversity, if he fights Deontay Wilder and gets hit on the chin and goes down, I think he'll stay down. because I'm not seeing anything in that mindset and that performance that tells me that he wants to be a world champion again.
That's really interesting. But what we are seeing, perhaps, when he had that meltdown at the end of the contest where he tossed Alexander Usyk's belts out of the ring, he said subsequently, and that was the impression that a lot of us had, it's because he had put so much work into training for the rematch, working on his boxing rather than his fighting, but yet he realized that there was still a whole different level that he has yet to accomplish, and that messed with his mind because it had to change the way that he thought about himself. He's been a two-time heavyweight champ, but there's still an entire realm that he has yet to reach. And what I see when I see Anthony Joshua with this measured approach, perhaps circumspect and cautious and picking his punches, is somebody who is trying to become a better boxer. But you're 6'6" and 255 pounds and explosive, and you didn't start in the game till late. It seems to me he's lost a little bit of the fighting ability, but looking to work on his boxing. Will that be enough to get him where he wants to go?
Well, we shall see. And a person who I'm pretty sure will be able to kind of guide him in that direction is with Steve Bunce now.
Yes, I'm with Eddie Hearn backstage. Eddie, just 2 minutes of your time because I know how busy you are. I've just spoken to AJ and he's really not very happy. He said he feels like he could have done more, and he's sort of doubting his punching power, and he feels he should have knocked him out. I've never known him be that raw and that honest and that uncut.
Well, I think, to be honest, it was a solid performance, but not spectacular. There's no point trying to gas him up. I mean, he knows that. Franklin has a great chin. He's very durable. It's a tough style for AJ because it's a much smaller guy who likes to slip and fight on the inside at times. AJ should have boxed more on the inside. I felt like he should have been more dominant with his size on the inside. But he's also coming off 2 defeats. His confidence is low. I think it's still low from that conversation.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that it's going to take him time to gel with Derek James. And the tricky thing now will be, do you jump in? I believe that once he raises the levels in opposition, it'll raise his performance as well. But now's the tough part. Because do you go into the Fury and the Wilder fight as a big underdog, or do you continue? He's had 3 trainers in 3 fights. So really, he needs time to gel with Derek James. You can't just have one fight and it all fall into place. But it was a solid win. He won easy, if not spectacular, but on to the next.
And what becomes the factor in the decision, and is it as basic as the money, Ed? I mean, because I'm looking at that fight, and I think I agree with you. I think another fight against a guy who's a good fighter on his way to those big guys, I think that prepares him and makes him a better fighter against an Usyk or against the Joshua.
Yeah,
against the Fury. Excuse me.
I think, you know, ultimately you wait and wait and wait, and then fights disappear. So there may be an opportunity to do the Tyson Fury fight next. If it's there, it's going to be very difficult for AJ to not take that fight because he may think he may never get it. Look, the sensible thing is to have another fight with Derek James to gel and to improve. I think Dillian Whyte is a great option. I think it's a great fight. The first one was epic. But at the same time, everything's about timing. Money, not so. I don't think he's looking at the money at this stage in his career, but at the end of the day, I think he's looking at big fights. And I think he'll want a big fight. I think he'll want to put himself under pressure. He's very hard on himself. I know he'll go away and he'll say, I need to improve, I need to do this, I need to do that. But there was a lot of pressure tonight. You know, that was his career on the line in there. And I think he was apprehensive at times, potentially for that reason.
And you know now, he's not in the dressing room. You know he's out there in the crowd, don't you, doing selfies?
He'll do that for about 2 hours. But, you know, this camp's been good for him in that respect because normally he does that every day. And he'll go back to Texas, he'll work hard, and he'll improve. You know, there'll be a lot of people that are harsh and critical about the performance. I thought it was a 7 out of 10. Solid, not spectacular, but a big win under pressure.
Listen, Eddie, I know you've got loads of things to do. I'm going to let you go, but I'm just going to go over here and speak to Dillian Whyte. Thanks very much, Eddie. Dillian Whyte's with me here. Dillian, first of all, you sat there at ringside. What were your thoughts as you were watching it, rounds 3, 4, 5, 6? What was going through your head?
I was just thinking Joshua's lost all his aggression and killing instincts. The ability is still there, the boxing skill's still there, and everything's still there. He looks the part, he shapes up well, but every time Franklin's shaped like he's going to hit him, he hesitates and he's a bit, you know, I never seen him like that before, but he's a bit shell-shocked. Understandably, he's come off 2 losses, but I've come off knockout defeat. You know, I came off knockout defeat for Franklin when he was undefeated, and I pressured him in the last 2 rounds, and that's what sealed the fight for me. You know what I mean? Obviously, I won 4 out of 12 rounds, but the last 2 rounds really is what made the difference. The last 2 rounds, Joshua was very hesitant, and he hurt him in the 11th as well, I think. You know?
I mean, were you a bit shocked sometimes that he got himself in position, he let one shot go, two shots go, and then that was it? He didn't let the third or the fourth go.
Early signs of a fighter who doesn't want to do it anymore. He's just doing it for whatever he's doing it for, whatever he's doing it to prove fight. But he's achieved a lot. Let's be honest, he's achieved a lot. So if he doesn't do it anymore, I think he should stop. Give me my rematch before he stops.
Yeah, no, so and Eddie there mentioned the fact that there was a potential rematch. Is that something that's now being, not just talked about by you, but is that something that's being discussed behind closed doors?
I have no idea, man.
I hope so.
I have no idea. They said the winner of that fight was meant to fight. Me and Franklin, the winner of that was meant to fight Joshua, and they fought the loser, so that shows you how much faith there is in boxing. You understand?
Now, and Joshua was really harsh on himself after the fight, and I've interviewed him a lot after fights. He was harsher than I've ever known him. He said it wasn't there. Maybe I've lost my punch power. He was really flat, really down, and that could be a good thing, because at least you're not saying, oh, it's okay, I wanted 12 rounds and I'm happy with 12 rounds.
Listen, boxing's about entertainment. All you got to do is entertain, but that's just his mentality. He's always questioning himself, and that's the difference between him. He's always questioning himself. I have a defeat, I come back, I show up. I don't think, my punch power, but I'm honest with myself. I change what is wrong in the camp. I break it down. I say, you know what? I need more experience. I need more conditioning. I need more this, more that. And I'm a realist. Difference, I'm a realist.
Did you think tonight, thanks for your time, did you think tonight that we would see that old vicious Joshua? And do you think that we'll ever see it again after tonight? Two-part question.
I honestly thought we would, because Franklin is there to make Joshua look good. Franklin was someone they picked him because obviously me and him, the way he looked against me, obviously it was a good fight. It was a good competitive fight, but they're thinking, okay, Joshua is taller than Dillian. Joshua throws more straight punches than Dillian. He should be able to pick Franklin apart. But obviously, it just shows how good Franklin is. What's really disappointing is Joshua go 12-1 in Franklin. Yeah, he was working. I go 12-1 in Franklin. I spent 6 weeks with Buddy. You know what I mean? And I spent 6 weeks with Buddy. And Buddy's a guy that he wants you to work on the basics. He was testing me in that fight. He was testing me if I can take the instruction in and follow exactly what he wanted me to do,
So, Dillian, if the Joshua fight doesn't materialise for you, if he chases Fury or chases someone else, when might you be back, and who's on your shopping list now?
I need to fight someone. I want to fight in June, obviously, there's Carlos Takam there, there's Derek Cesaro there, there's Pulev, someone like that. I don't have to see who's there and who's also willing to fight. What people forget is they say, you should fight him, you should fight him. I've been chasing Wilder for 1,000 years. I've been chasing Fury for a long time. I got the fight with him. I'm chasing AJ for 8-9 years. I'm chasing all the top guys, but I can only do what I can do. If they don't want to fight, I can't force them to fight. You understand? So I have to fight who's there.
There's no denying, Dillian, that you will fight anybody, you will call anybody's bluff, and we know that when you get in there, as you say, win or lose, you'd get out and you just dust yourself off and you come again. Dillian, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, Steve, man. Respect. Cheers.